All right, let's dive into a story from a time that feels, I don't know, almost like ancient history now, the pre-internet age. We're talking about a tale of pagers, fanny packs, and this absolutely epic adventure that all went down under the fluorescent glow of a Walmart parking lot.
I mean, come on. That sentence just perfectly captures the wonderfully bizarre legend we're about to unfold. This was not just some prank, okay? This was a full-blown, honest-to-goodness operation. And our storyteller, he wasn't just watching from the sidelines. He was about to become an accidental accomplice.
So, to really get this, you have to transport yourself back to 1997. There's no online shopping, no social media to scroll through. Walmart was, well, it was everything. It was the hub. You didn't just run in for one thing. No, you'd go in for socks and come out like 3 hours later with some beef jerky, maybe a lawn chair, and a newfound respect for the fishing aisle. It was basically the center of the universe for a lot of small towns.
And every Friday night, that parking lot just came alive. It was this whole social scene, a ritual. You had the teenagers cruising around, parents debating dinner plans, some dudes slinging mixtapes from his trunk, and right in the middle of all this classic small-town chaos, a new legend started to emerge, the man they simply called Treasure Map Guy.
This was his uniform, and really, it told you everything you needed to know before he even opened his mouth. That windbreaker, it made that swish-swish sound even when he was perfectly still. The sneakers were just blindingly white, and that fanny pack, it was so overstuffed it looked like it was about to burst. This was a man with a serious plan.
And there it is. That's the line. That's the exact moment our narrator, who was just minding his own business, gets pulled in. It's the kind of sentence that just screams you're about to get involved in some glorious, glorious nonsense. He gets handed this folded piece of paper, not a flyer, but a hand-drawn map.
These weren't just simple directions, right? This was the start of a real adventure. The details were so wonderfully specific and weird. He had to find the one cart corral that squeaks like a dying hamster. And then there was that ominous warning, do not make eye contact with the garden center. Faced with all this, our narrator said the 3 most dangerous words you can possibly say. I'm listening.
So he follows the map, and sure enough, he finds the first clue, a cassette tape. Only problem, his car had one of those fancy new CD players that skipped if you so much as looked at it wrong. So this immediately kicks off a side quest. He has to walk all the way back into Walmart to buy a cheapo cassette player. He's like a secret agent who forgot his most important piece of gear.
He gets back to the car, pops in the tape, and this whispered voice gives him these hilariously serious instructions. Compromised? Compromised by who? The Girl Scouts selling cookies? The CIA? I mean, who knows? But the mission was clearly escalating. And as he walked up to the vending machines, he realized something pretty important. By the time our guy gets to the vending machines, he sees he is definitely not alone. There's a couple of teenagers over there trying to act all casual while holding their own map upside down. Yep, the secret was out. This little solo adventure was quickly turning into a full-on community event. And then the movement got its unofficial spokesperson. A mom leans out of her minivan and shouts this absolute gem. She put on real pants for this people. This line just perfectly captures the whole spirit of the night, a beautiful mix of genuine curiosity and this low-stakes, hilarious determination. Okay, so Phase 2, as the tape called it, led the now growing crowd to the Forbidden Garden Center. And there it was, tucked between bags of potting soil, the next piece of ancient technology, a VHS tape. You can just feel the logistical problems piling up. I mean, who carries a VCR around in a parking lot? The mystery of Map Guy was only getting deeper. So just as the group is trying to figure out how in the world they're going to play a VHS tape, this veteran night shift employee walks over and spills the beans. Map Guy was actually Mr. Denny, a former history teacher, and he was running a community engagement initiative. The best part? Apparently, Walmart corporate just let him do it because it kept people from starting fights in the snack aisle. Incredible.
The final piece of this analog puzzle was found on another relic of the 90s, a payphone. The note taped to it was simple. It just said to go to light pole 12 and prepare for glory. So the whole crew, this ragtag group of teenagers, parents, and just random shoppers, headed for the grand finale.
And there, right under light pole 12, was the mastermind himself, Mr. Denny, no longer the mysterious map guy, but now the official parking lot provost, complete with his own sash. He's standing there behind a folding table like some kind of game show host who took a very, very wrong turn on the way to the studio. And on that table, the legendary prizes.
It was, well, it was an eclectic collection. There was an off-brand RC car, a few $5 Walmart gift cards, some glow sticks, and the crown jewel of the whole operation, a slightly dented waffle iron. This was the glorious reward for their whole evening of parking lot espionage. But, as Mr. Denny started to address his citizens, it was pretty clear that the stuff on the table, that wasn't the main event. He pointed to this simple shoebox and announced that inside was the real treasure.
The shoebox was just filled with handwritten letters. They were from seniors at a local retirement home. The treasure wasn't a gift card or a dented appliance. It was stories. It was local history that you could actually hold in your hands. And in that moment, the whole ridiculous evening suddenly felt, well, it felt kind of profound.
So everybody took a letter. Our narrator got one from a man named Carl, who told this amazing story from decades earlier about sneaking into a baseball game and getting chased by a cop on a bike. Just a simple, funny, human story. And that was the real prize, this unexpected connection to the town's past, delivered in the weirdest way possible. Just as our narrator is soaking in this whole weirdly wholesome moment, Mr. Denny claps him on the shoulder and says this. And just like that, he'd been chosen. He was roped into keeping the tradition going whether he wanted to or not. The torch, or maybe it was the waffle iron, had officially been passed.
And that's the story. For one entire summer, this became the new Friday night ritual. A bizarre, wonderful underground treasure hunt league that somehow brought a whole community together in a parking lot. All thanks to a retired history teacher with a dream and a fanny pack full of clues.
This whole story leaves you with a really interesting question. Mr. Denny used the analog tools he had to create this space for spontaneous connection and community. It really makes you wonder, in our super-connected digital world, where do we find those shared spaces for just unexpected, glorious, and wholesome nonsense? What are our modern-day Walmart parking lots?